Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Feud, Bette and Joan winding down.
One episode left.
One episode left.
Yeah, this was good stuff. By the way, this was directed by Helen Hunt.
Yeah. I want a quick shout out to my friend Tom, who pointed out that this may be the first time that an Oscar-winning actress has directed two other Oscar-winning actresses.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, I imagine it's true.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
playing two Oscar-winning actresses for that matter. So you know, I have to say I learned a lot from this episode because my understanding of Joan Crawford doing Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte was that she had sort of signed on, got through like the early rehearsal process and then bailed. I didn't realize she'd shot almost the entire film.
Everything in Louisiana had been shot.
Yeah.
So all the establishing shots, all of that had been
but they shot scenes. They shot scenes much more than they shot about whatever needed to be shot in Louisiana. They had shot, and they were returning to Los Angeles to finish production.
And the being left in the trailer thing also happened.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up, the Vanity Fair or somebody does a good who did the OJ one too.
Vulture.
Vulture.
I think is it Vulture?
I think they might both do it.
Well, yeah, there was a
fact
checking, and it was in fact the Vanity Fair thing, if that's the one I'm remembering correctly, pointed out that like actually they left stuff out that you would think isn't true and was overdone for television that Bette did to Joan on. She was getting her payback for the
Oscar
Oscars.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think that what we see, given that this is a week by week show and you can't really binge watch it, is that I found myself feeling so sympathetic towards Joan, and they want you to, and then I have to remember, okay, but she really was also horrible to Bette. It's not that this came out of nowhere for Bette. And what I really liked about this too is I knew that she checked into Cedars-Sinai and that this was vague illness and the threat of the lawsuit and all that stuff, but I didn't really know more details on what her time in Cedars-Sinai looked like, and I thought it was really good that they fleshed that out because I only knew that she sort of checked in and was a celebrity patient in the celebrity wing, which did exist.
The celebrity wing of Cedars-Sinai, a couple of some great lines in there. You know, when Baldridge is saying to Bette Davis, she played, talking about Vivian Leigh, she played Scarlett O'Hara.
Yeah,
Bette goes,
not well.
Unconvincing.
Oh, unconvincingly.
Well, because that was a role Bette wanted.
Right,
in fact, that's why she made Jezebel.
Yeah, everybody wanted it, but and but also then Olivia de Havilland, Catherine Zeta-Jones as Olivia de Havilland. I don't do bitches.
Call my sister.
You should call my sister.
Well, also the scene that they had of Lady in a Cage. I love
the
those
recreations.
The recreations are really good.
No, right, but it's funny that just they grow on you because the recreations we criticized in the beginning, right? And now we're like, fine.
Somewhere around the Straight Jacket trailer, they really won me over. And somebody on YouTube has been doing these sort of side by side things. So like the actual 60 whatever Oscars next to the version of it on the show, and they like whoever's making this show like is sitting down with this stuff and really
because they did the Gregory Peck shot, right?
Yeah,
that's exact. Yeah, they it was really first of all, by the way, Bette Davis, BD, right?
Yes.
So that marriage, she got married. They're still together. They have been married 54 years.
Wow.
Get out.
Isn't that amazing? Jeremy turned out maybe not gross.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
and it is her first marriage.
It was her first marriage, and she stuck with it.
And that was a really great conversation too, because I know that much has been made of Joan Crawford's relationship with her children, but there really is also as juicy of a story to Bette Davis's relationship with her daughter.
Yeah, she wrote her out of the will. She disinherited her after the first tell-all about.
I was going to say because she wrote the memoir while Bette was still alive. That was that was
and it's just like had a stroke. It had been done first, but the timing was.
And there wasn't even that much to tell, though. I mean, like you can argue that a lot of Mommy Dearest is sort of overstated or whatever. And there are people who impugn the veracity of that book. But like even if you take My Mother's Keeper as gospel, like it's not that bad. It's not horrific. It's just she was ambitious and didn't have time for her kids, and
It's nothing that we wouldn't have expected from what we know of Bette Davis's career anyway.
Right. It was, but again, all really they capture even because what was super unprofessional with Bette, and you do get, I mean, it's tough because right in the beginning it opens with Joan thinking that Bette is making fun of her.
Yes.
When actually,
she's admiring
while she was making fun of her a little, what she was really doing was, goddamn, that was good.
She nailed it, one take.
One-tailed it. She had all that business to do, and had to pay the guy and tip the guy and take her bag out, and and she got it all, got all that business done, and so there's this again moment of, oh oh my God, you guys are so close to being the same person. And as we see coming up in the next episode, again, there are moments where there's only one person in the world who understands what you're going through, and you guys rather inexplicably, or perhaps
I'd say pretty explicably
hate each other. But I mean, it didn't have to be that way.
No, totally. I mean, that's the
unfortunately
that's the great balance of the show. There's the sort of heartbreak of like what they could have really done as a genuine unified front, but then also the reasons that they presented each other. You know, that conversation about what was it like to be the most beautiful girl in the world.
I was just.
What was it like to be the most talented girl in the world. I mean, that was so heartbreaking. And then where Betty remembers standing outside the door and hearing Jack Warner saying you wouldn't fuck her and he wished she looked like Joan Crawford. Like that's the stuff you carry with you forever.
I don't know.
And she did.
I don't know if Betty overheard that, but that is what Jack Warner said about her, and it certainly got back to Betty, whether she heard about it, whether she was hiding like Jay Leno in the closet, or not.
Well, I think that what I liked about this episode is obviously there's only one more left. I think we're seeing the writers do a really good job of giving us these moments of catharsis between these two women in a way that doesn't feel too ham-fisted, because that short dialogue of how did it feel to be the most beautiful girl in the world, how did it feel to be the most talented girl in the world, you know, that really could have felt a little melodramatic and cheesy.
Totally.
But the way that they're building this up, I was nervous that we're going to be left at this next episode feeling like, oh, I wish we would have told the whole story. What about the 70s? Like, let's go into everything. And I think that they're going to do a nice job of tying things up, because there's a lot more after Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte to tie up. We're just not going to be able to get to all of that.
Yeah, I was saying
there's not a lot more for Joan.
Well,
okay, I was saying last week that I really wanted us to get to Trog, which apparently we are based on the scenes from next week. But now I'm going to up it, and I want to say I want to get to Joan and Steven Spielberg, because he directed the Night Gallery episode that she did that was like one of her last TV gigs.
I want to see her in I Love Lucy. I want to see let's go that far.
I didn't like
the Lucy Show.
I thought they diminished that wonderful scene of Joan saying it was never enough by having Betty do it too. Like somehow that conversation went on. I would have argued in the editing room that we're done after the.
No. See, I totally disagree. I think that Betty has to say it too, because I think they both have to reveal.
But we knew Betty thinks it.
Like, right, but Joan needs to hear it. Joan needs to hear it, and Betty knows Joan needs to hear it. Because otherwise, it's Betty saying "fuck you" again.
So even though, to your point earlier, Grace, about Joan feeling sympathy for Joan, and you do, of course, because there's she wants somebody to hug her.
She's outnumbered.
But you can't tell. She's a maniac and she's deranged, and you can't tell her it's all right. I mean, you feel bad for her. You want somebody to hug her, but she is. I mean, she did it to herself. Everyone, Allison. What's Allison's last name?
The Martha from the Americans.
Martha from the Americans. She's there, and she's right there. Like, hey, I'm with you. I get this. You got to let this go. They'll sue you. They'll crush you. They'll move on. They don't need Joan Crawford. They've made movies before Joan Crawford. They'll make movies after. But she doesn't get it, and she alienates everyone, and that's exemplified by
Mamacita.
Even Mamacita's.
And everyone says you did this to yourself. You're doing this to yourself.
And she did. She did. Yeah. So at the end, I have a moment of sympathy for her, but in the end, you can't, and you can't. You cannot have that kind of person in your life. For all Betty's foibles, you could have Betty in your life, and it's a net win. But Joan, you can't have in your life.
Yeah. But isn't that just a testament to how amazing Jessica Lange is as Joan Crawford?
Yes.
Where we know, knowing what we know about Joan
still
Crawford,
feel sympathy
that
for
she
her,
is not really a sympathetic character, and she did all of this to herself, and she alienated so many people and drove so many people away and was so hard-headed. But Jessica Lange brings this humanity to her that you do find yourself really feeling for her, and that's why I think, I mean, these performances in this show from Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange are just absolutely stunning.
And I think what's also so great is you can tell that what stings Joan so much about the relationship between Betty and Baldridge on this movie is that Joan is used to being the one who sleeps with the director, and also knows what you get when you sleep with the director, and so like to see it happening from somebody else, is galling.
To not only have Betty be more talented, but to take sort of to be the more sort of sexually intriguing one to the director must have been.
That's like you're taking this away from me too.
But but the thing that Bette Davis did, which is true, as it turns out, which I thought was being over dramatized, but Betty audibly screwing up Joan's takes, sitting next to Baldridge and being that's unbelievable. And of course that would enrage an actress of Joan's stature and talent. It would enrage anyone to have another actor, not the director, saying cut. No, Bob, you simply can't do it. I'm talking. I'm doing a scene. Yeah, but apparently that is what happened.
Oh man! All right, so one more of these.
So sad.
So join us next week for that. Thanks for watching.